All right, let's now cut across to the press briefing by India's Foreign Ministry ahead of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Uzbekistan. Listen.
At the invitation of the President of Uzbekistan, Mr. Shaukat Mirzayev, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi will be leaving later this evening for a 24-hour visit to Samarkand, Uzbekistan, to participate in the 22nd meeting of the Council of Heads of State of the SCO. As you all know, Uzbekistan is the current chair of the organization. You are also aware that SCO is a regional multilateral organization that has 8 member states, namely India, China, Russia, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and the host of the SCO chair this time, Uzbekistan. SCO was set up in June 2001 and India became its full member in 2017. The annual summit that it hosted by a member state of the SCO. Prime Minister Modi has been leading the Indian delegation to the SCO summit every year since we became its full member in 2017. During the last 2 summits in 2020 and 21, Prime Minister participated in a virtual format. So, in Samarkand, we expect full physical format participation by all the leaders. Since joining SCO as a full member, India has been making positive contributions to the SCO processes, deliberations, and its outcomes. After the Council of Heads of State, the Council of Heads of Government is the second most important mechanism of the SCO, which deals principally with trade, economy, and cultural agenda of the organization. India chaired this mechanism during 2020, with the then Vice President Shri Venkaiah Naidu presiding over our summit meeting in November 2020 in virtual format. During our chairmanship at that time, a number of initiatives were taken, including holding an exhibition of shared Buddhist heritage in SCO member states in virtual format by the National Museum, translation of 10 books of regional Indian literature into the official languages of the SCO, that's the Russian and the Chinese, and hosting the first SCO Startup Forum, the first SCO MSME Forum, and the first SCO Young Scientist Conclave in virtual format. The Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure, RATS, of SCO is another important mechanism of the organization. India assumed the chairship of the Executive Council of RATS in October last year for a year and has been focusing on promoting practical cooperation in combating the problem of terrorism in our region. Moving on to the Samarkand summit, Prime Minister will arrive in Samarkand, as I said earlier, later this evening. He will attend the summit tomorrow morning. The summit usually has 2 sessions. One, a restricted session, which is meant only for the SCO member states, and then an extended session that will likely include participation by observers and also the special invitees of the chair country, that is Uzbekistan, as also organizations which participate in the SCO summit. The heads of the 2 permanent bodies of the SCO, the Secretary General of the SCO Secretariat and Director of SCO RATS, will also be present in both sessions. We expect that the discussions during the summit would cover topical, regional and international issues, reform and expansion of SCO, the security situation in the region, our cooperation perspective in the region, including strengthening connectivity, as well as boosting trade and tourism in the region. Samarkand Declaration and numerous other documents are expected to be finalized during the summit, They are currently under consideration of the SCO member countries. Apart from the summit activities, Prime Minister will hold bilateral meetings with the President of Uzbekistan and some other leaders on the sidelines of the summit. PM's participation in this summit is a reflection of the importance that India attaches to the SCO and its goals. This is also tied to our approach and engagement with the region as a whole. As you are well aware, India hosted the first India Central Asia Summit earlier this year, preceded by a foreign minister level meeting. We remain focused on strengthening our linkages with Central Asia and the extended neighborhood, and this visit will take that vision and that perspective forward. I thanks very much, and if there are questions, we'll be happy to take them.
Thank you very much, sir. Before we move on to the question, hold on, I'm sure there's interest. Please introduce yourself and the organization and limit your questions, please. We have a little tight time constraints. Trying to start at the first row always. Sorry.
This is Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. Who are the other countries with whom PM Modi will have bilaterals, and are there chances of his having any kind of a conversation with Shehbaz Sharif, the Prime Minister of Pakistan?
Who are the people with the exact same question on bilaterals on this? Please raise your hand right now so I don't repeat. Okay, hold on. Yes, on this issue.
Sir, Shruti Ranjan from the Bloomberg, sir. On the bilaterals, will the Foreign Secretary give us a clarification? Is there a possibility of the Prime Minister meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping? Is it under discussion?
On the bilaterals, let's go through this bilateral.
And also anything on the bilateral with President Putin, sir?
Both them. Yes, please.
सर मैं कविता हूँ हरिभूमि से सर जो बायलैटरल मीटिंग्स हैं चाइनीज़ प्रेसिडेंट के साथ बायलैटरल मीटिंग होनी है और पाकिस्तान और चीन की तरफ से क्या विदेश मंत्रालय को कोई इसके बारे में आपके पास कोई कम्युनिकेशन आया है बायलैटरल मीटिंग को लेकर के प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी के साथ?
Somebody else behind you. Okay.
Manish Kumar Jha from Financial Express. Sir, we understand SCO is largely bereft of the bilateral talks. How do we merge the bilateral?
Could you repeat your question?
In
it is
SCO, we do not basically emphasize on the bilateral issues, right? But still, we see a lot of bilateral talks underway. So, how do we merge and sort of decide or kind of reach to such a conclusion, which is away from the SCO charter?
Okay.
Thank you.
Somebody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Sean Lee with the Wall Street Journal. My question is on Russian oil.
Can you just come back to this after the bilateral? There's a whole set of people on bilateral. I'll come back to you. I'm sure there are other questions. Yeah, please.
फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी मैं मनीष झा हूँ TV9 भारतवर्ष से. ऐसा लगता है कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर और चाइनीज़ प्रेसिडेंट के बीच कोई बायलैटरल नहीं होगी, और अगर ऐसा होता है तो क्या हम कह सकते हैं कि जैसे पाकिस्तान को लेकर हमने एक मैसेज दिया है कि टॉक्स एंड टेरर कैन नॉट गो टुगेदर, उसी तरह से चीन को लेकर भी अब है कि जब तक स्टेटस को बहाल नहीं होगा तब तक शी जिनपिंग के साथ मीटिंग नहीं होगी?
आप और बाकी लोगों में बड़ी मतभेद है, जो डिफरेंस या there is okay, one second, I'll come back to you. I'll come back. Yes, on the same topic, bilaterals.
आप पहले प्रश्नों की सहमति बना लीजिए, उसके बाद हम उत्तर की सहमति बनाएंगे.
नहीं मिल रहे हैं, आप मिल रहे हैं. Please, your turn.
कादम्बिनी शर्मा from NDTV India. अगर ईरान के साथ बायलैटरल होता है तो क्या फोकस तेल पर रहेगा?
On the details of bilateral, we'll come to it. I think anybody, somebody else had a hand? Yes. धीरे, आपको माइक्रोफोन नहीं चल रहा है, धीरे.
सर मैं मनीष हूँ जी न्यूज़ से. मेरा सवाल है कि SCO लीडर्स बोट राइडिंग भी कर रहे हैं, क्या प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी भी बोट राइडिंग का उनका कोई कार्यक्रम में शामिल है?
बोट राइडिंग
हो रही है.
Okay, I will hand over this. On that note, I'll hand over to you.
Let me ride the boat. This entire rubric of questions relating to Prime Minister's bilateral engagements on the sidelines of the SCO, तथा जो स्पेसिफिक जो आप लोगों के प्रश्न हैं, किस नेता के साथ द्विपक्षीय वार्ता होगी अथवा नहीं होगी. See, all I will say is, which I have mentioned in my opening remarks also, is that besides his bilateral with the host country, chair of the SCO summit, Uzbekistan's Prime Minister will have other bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the summit, and we would keep you apprised as along the way when the Prime Minister's schedule of these bilateral meetings unfolds as we go along. At this stage, that is all I can share with you. मैं किसी भी चीज़ पे अपना इंटरप्रिटेशन आपके प्रश्न द्वारा जो अंकित है वो नहीं कहना चाहूँगा इस समय. But there was this one question with regard to, well, boat is a different thing. I think Manish from the Financial Express asked about the question relating to how do we balance bilateral conversations with the SCO agenda. I think, Manish, you are absolutely right that SCO essentially focuses on topics of interest that are topical to the region and doesn't go into the details of bilateral issues between the two countries. And traditionally, if you look at the SCO's agenda, and also, of course, from the time that India has been its full member, we have also seen that its focus remains on discussing developments which are taking place in our region and the world. It also focuses on mitigating the common challenges that face the region, in this particular case countering terrorism. It also discusses how trade and economic cooperation can be strengthened in the region. Those are the elements which stay focused on in discussions during the SCO summit. But I don't see there is any conflict between that and the leaders' discussions, bilateral discussions between the leaders that take place on the sidelines of the SCO summit. So I think the two are different buckets and they both stand on their own in that sense. Well, I really don't have an answer on the boat ride. I think it's a Prime Minister's schedule in Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit this time. As he's there for a very brief period. Essentially, he reaches there later tonight, attends the restricted and the extended session tomorrow, and the couple of other engagements which are relating to SCO summit tomorrow, does a set of bilateral meetings which, as I said, we'll keep you apprised of as they unfold, and then returns later tonight, scheduled to return tomorrow night, if there is a boat ride
the context the context of the question was the leaders who reached already. There was an event where they were taken for a boat ride. I don't think Prime Minister
Prime Minister will attend his programs relating to the summit after he reaches there and for the time that he's there. Thank you.
I had interrupted you, so for honor.
Speak.
My question is just about Russian oil. Is Russian offering deeper discounts on its oil as an inducement for India to not join the G7 price cap proposal? And if so, how steep are the discounts?
You have to bring it to some with this. This is a special briefing on the SCO, so I would not like to have Foreign Secretary also.
Okay.
Is there a SCO link to it?
Out there. And also, just I'm sorry to just follow up. The Russian side has confirmed that there will be a bilateral meeting between Putin and Prime Minister Modi, so I just wanted to follow up.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, please.
सर, मेरा नाम शैलेश कुमार है और मैं नेशनल डिफेंस से हूँ. मैं आपसे जानना चाहता हूँ कि क्या SCO बाय एंड लार्ज चाइना सेंट्रिक हो गया है, भारत को इससे क्या फ़ायदा हुआ है, खास करके जितने भी मेंबर स्टेट्स हैं वो सब जिनजियांग से लगे हुए हैं उनके बॉर्डर्स, और एक तरह से चीन जब से संघाई 5 और उसके बाद SCO आया तब से जिनजियांग को उन्होंने पूरी तरह से सेटल कर लिया, चाहे टेररिज्म हो, चाहे और भी समस्याएं हो, डेमोग्राफी चेंज जो कि 50% लगभग चेंज हो गई है, इंटरनलाइजेशन ऑफ उइगर्स मुस्लिम्स, वो सब कर लिया. लेकिन चीन ओवरलुक करता रहा है हमारे कंसर्न्स को, चाहे वो PRI एक्सटेंड कर रहा हो सब जगह, पर वो CPEC हमारी सोवरेनिटी को चैलेंज कर रहे हैं. अभी हमारे बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट है,
छोटा रखें क्वेश्चन.
क्या चीन जो है हमारे इंटरेस्ट को ओवरलुक कर रहा है और अपने इंटरेस्ट को प्रमोट कर रहा है?
Thank you. Question right to the back. I'll come back. One by one. Yeah, Pranay, go ahead.
सर, प्रणय उपाध्याय ABP न्यूज से. सर, मेरी दो छोटी जिज्ञासा है. प्रधानमंत्री जी जा रहे हैं समरकंद में, तो वहाँ कई एससीओ देशों का ये प्रस्ताव है कि डोमेस्टिक ट्रेड के लिए जो या रीजनल ट्रेड या बायलैटरल ट्रेड के लिए करेंसी जो लोकल करेंसीज हैं उनका इस्तेमाल किया जाए। भारत का उस पर क्या नजरिया है? दूसरी बात, एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी को लेकर कितना महत्वपूर्ण होगा प्रधानमंत्री का बायलैटरल एंगेजमेंट और जो एससीओ एंगेजमेंट है, क्या कुछ होने वाला है उसमें?
नेक्स्ट टू यू
Sir, times now. You spoke about rats and how important it is and how effective it is. Now, keeping in mind the fact that one of the members of the SCO is a country we have constantly spoken about, and perhaps rightly too, about cross-border terrorism, how can rats evolve if one of the 8 members is so involved in cross-border terrorism?
There, please. I'll come back to you guys. No, inko. You had a question? No, sorry. I thought I saw your hand. Okay, go ahead then. Reza, go ahead.
Foreign Secretary Reza from Hindustan Times. Similar question to the last question. We've heard about RATS always as a forum for practical counter-terror cooperation. But how do we do this when Pakistan actively harbors anti-India terror groups and China is blocking efforts to list those terrorists?
Okay, somebody had a hand here. Okay, please, both of you. Yeah, then we'll close with that.
Foreign Secretary, Shashank Mattu with the Mint. So you talked about trade and connectivity, but China, for example, has north of $40 billion of trade with the 5 Central Asian countries. We have somewhere around $2 billion. They're also partly funding a very expansive rail network connectivity project in Central Asia. Your sense of what the economic strategy is for India with Central Asia going forward?
So maybe we'll take this round and take another last round. So I'll come back to the remaining. Yeah, sure.
Mr. Lee, on your question relating to the Russian oil and the price cap coalition, India is not a member of the G7. Just for record purposes, to be clear on that. Deeper discounts, market pricing. Look, we have said this several times at other platforms also, that when the Indian entities go out and try to respond to India's needs of the energy security and procure oil, they essentially procure it from the market. These are not government-to-government purchases that we do. On the price cap coalition, well, what form it takes, what shape it evolves into, is something I think which the people, the countries that have floated that idea, perhaps can better answer to that.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.